welcome to the Hammersmith Palais.
See how I'm talking, notice everything we need.
I'm gonna try to make you love me too, so get ready, just be back home.
And for the benefit of the people who haven't been here before, who hasn't been here before? Oh, and there are not. I tell you what, all those that haven't been here before, would you like to stand up for Denny, please? That's the idea. I have to tell you that your first duty is to buy the band a drink. Yeah, mine's a draft viewing. So would all the ladies and gentlemen cross your hands across your chest, take hold of the person's hand next to you, and let's hear everyone sing as you come with us, cruising down the river. So everyone, let's hear it.
8 o'clock on a Monday night, old-time music hall and the customers swing into a Palais tradition, cruising down the river, their own song, for it was born here, as was so much else.
Yes, there was something rather wonderful about it, because we'd meet people from all parts of the world, and everybody had heard of the Palais.
It was just sheer heaven. I loved it. The rapport that was between the people and us, and they loved us. They really did love us, and they showed it. It was really good.
Oh, and there were some beautiful dancers in those days. Well, it was an art, you know. I mean, you just didn't go in and stamp your feet. You danced, really danced. The whole atmosphere of Hammersmith in the early days, you were stricken with romance.
Fashions changed, but the people who are still the great British public, who else? And this is what has made Hammersmith Palais a famous place.
Well, I think I came here for the first time probably about 2 weeks after it was opened. It was started by two slick Americans, or rather one American and one Canadian. Their names Mitchell and Booker, and they came over with every trick in the book. And they introduced things here which had never been seen before.
The Hammersmith Palais de Danse was unique. The owner boasted, "I shall have the whole of London dancing there in a few weeks," and so it proved. On the opening night in October 1919, with the roof girders tastefully decorated with garlands and Chinese lanterns, over 6,000 people tried to get into the converted tram shed to dance to the continuous music. The entrance fee for the evening was 5 shillings. Afternoon sessions were cheaper. The respectable, mass-produced dance had hit Britain. The elegant French name drew crowds from Mayfair and Park Lane. Since then, 40 million people have danced at the Palais.
I also started my competition dancing here, and they used to run them by popular vote. The reason being that they hoped that the competitors would bring all their friends in to vote for them and push up the gate money. And one of the big ones that I won here, it was a £200. They had a £200 foxtrot competition, £200 waltz competition. Well, I won them both, and then they made a rule on the spot. As I'd won one, I wasn't allowed to take the other. Well, one of the first bands that they had here was the original Dixieland band. And then they used to bring American bands over, of course, regularly, Mitchell and Booker. And they had some very good bands. Of course, mind you, we probably shouldn't think they were so good today. But at that time, all the good music really came from the States.
Britain's jazz age began at the Palais with the arrival of the original Dixieland Jazz Band. Just after it opened, the famous American group were engaged to play there the music that was sweeping the world. But when they arrived from the States, they needed a pianist. Their luck was in. There was one man in Britain who could play their kind of music, a Londoner called Billy Jones. Billy and the group played original jazz, and his widow remembers the impact it had at that time.
Well, it paralysed a good many people. I'll never forget, before I met Billy, my father bought a gramophone. Now, they'd just done away with the horn, you know, it was a box. And in those days, from Cormorant, Birmingham, they would send you 50 records to pick what you wanted. So these records came, and I'm playing a piece, and I picked up one of these. And I put it on the gramophone. You see, my father was very conservative. And it started blazing away. I believe it was Ostrich Walk, which is rather noisy. And my father sitting there with his 3 fingers in the evening, you know. Good gracious me, he said, that gramophone's broken down already. Now, that was the repercussion, more or less. But of course, when the Palais started going, they were so respectable. Well, you couldn't go in unless you were in full evening dress, you know. And high society would descend Hammersmith. Oh, yes, indeed. Any Fred Astaire, you know, everybody entering in a wonderful, glamorous scene going on. The Palais. You see, a good many boys, those who had got away with their lives in the First World War, they all came out with little money in their pockets. And everybody wanted to sort of have a mad splurge before they went home, or they could find a job. Well, the Palais did exactly that. If you could afford it, you could find a partner, you say. That's the thing that Mitchell and Booker introduced into Great Britain, was the what is it, 10 cents a dance.
All that you need is a ticket. Come on, big boy, 10 cents a dance.
The press was intrigued. A unique feature of the Palais de Danse is the number of dance instructors and instructresses whose services may be engaged for the modest fee of 6pence a dance.
Most professionals at that time were looked on as gigolos. On the continent, there used to be quite a lot over there, and many of them were kept by wealthy women. And but when we started, I think we were all very keen on dancing. We didn't sort of think of anything like that. Probably did afterwards, but I know my father, who was a clergyman, he was the vicar of Wembley, and he was terribly shocked when he heard about this, that he should have a son who was a gigolo. When I made a success of it, then, of course, he looked on it quite differently.
What they objected to was the hiring a partner. Sin, that was asking for trouble.
They had the boys in a pen on one side and the girls in a pen on the other, and people used to hire them out at 6pence a dance, or they could buy a book of tickets for the afternoon. And the bands were told that no dance must last longer than 2 minutes, because the more dancers they got in, the more money they made.
It was rather a ticklish job in this respect, that you had short ones, fat ones, tall ones, thin ones, elderly, young, all sorts, and you had to make them think they were brilliant dancers.
We used to get some very nice presents, Some of them used to give you tips, note cases, and sometimes they'd put some money inside it. You had the nights of romance as well, but I was rather young and innocent in those days. You see, I'd been brought up in the vicarage, so I didn't know all those things. I found out after a year or two, of course.
A stranger walked in, so we all looked, and one of the waiters went over to her and asked her if she would like to dance. She said, yes, I certainly would. Send me a professional over. So he, in turn, walked over to us. So we took a coin out of our pocket and tossed up, and the odd man went. He was over there about half an hour, and he came back and he said to the cashier, book me out. Mean to say he was going out of the building. Away he went. He turned up 2.5 months later. We said, where the hell have you been? You see? And he said, well, I went on a cruise. He said, we went to Paris and we did this and we did that. And he came back with £5,000.
But the main reason for the success of Hammersmith Palais has always been that bestseller of all time, Boy Meets Girl. Among all its other firsts, the Palais was the first big ballroom in Britain to throw open its doors to beauty competitions. Every year, local hopefuls as well as girls from all over Britain have flocked here, pursuing the dreams that go with the tinsel and glitter title of Queen of this or that.
I think it's a laugh, and you meet people and you get a free drink afterwards.
Well, I really started this year because I wanted to do some modelling, and I thought this might sort of help me with my confidence in appearing in front of people.
Well, I entered the Miss England competition and $1 Million Legs and Jersey Holiday Queen once before, but with no success, unfortunately.
I've entered lots of other things.
I didn't come anywhere.
I didn't come anywhere.
I didn't come anywhere.
I didn't come anywhere. Then I got through to the semi-finals at Hackney.
My arms around you. Oh, my baby, I'm glad I found you. Oh, you beautiful doll, you great big beautiful doll. If you ever leave me, how my heart will ache. I want to hug you, but I feel you break. Oh, oh, oh.
I was Miss Holiday Princess in Yorkshire and Miss She down in Bognor.
I'm Rosemary Russell. I'm a hairdresser.
I'm a bit nervous.
I'm 36, 25, 36.
34, 24, 34. Well, I'm a part-time model, but at the moment I'm a computer operator.
I'd like to go to university.
I'd rather not give you the name of the school, but local grammar school.
Sociology, British Constitution and economic history.
But you see, really, I want to act.
Oh, 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 you
And the king of all this enchantment is the general manager. He'll spend all day in his kingdom and try any gimmick to attract more paying customers.
People think when we open the doors at 7:30 at night, people just come in because it's the Hammersmith Palais. Well, it's not so. We have to advertise, do promotions, have policies, different nights, like for instance Monday, Old Time Music Hall, Tuesday, Strict Tempo, Wednesday over 27. Well, we have to arrange all this during the day and get it all ready. And then all of a sudden we hope, when we've done all our advertising, that people will come in then.
Yeah.
But they don't just walk in. I know people like personal waitress service, to see a bit of glamour in the ballroom. They like a good band, like good music, they like low lights. I like all that. They like it.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I give them what I like, what I think they would like. And I'm quite sure what I like is what they would like. Well, it hasn't done me any harm so far.
I see him for about 10 minutes every morning. Say good morning, bye-bye. And the evening I leave sandwiches for him. It's too late night when he comes home. The kids in bed. I've got to get up with the kids in the morning. So I see him for about 10 minutes each day.
I'm very lucky I've got a good wife. She, she understands. And Mecca's been wonderful to me. I've won some lovely holidays. I've been all over the world, more or less. I probably wouldn't get that in any other job. And we have 2 young children, which keeps her busy. When I go home, my life is just a matter of putting my feet up and watching television. Although my wife does that every night, but to have me there with her that night makes all the difference to her.
I used to enjoy dancing, but I shouldn't be telling you this. My husband can't dance. It took me 3 months to teach him the wedding waltz, and it was just one to stop.
With up to 2,000 customers a night, the Palais, as well as its usual complement of barmaids, ticket sellers and general staff, employs about a dozen supervisors to patrol the floor.
We don't have much trouble. I'd rather talk a chap out of a bit of trouble than use the old fisticuffs. If any of my chaps ever touch anybody, I sack them on the spot, because it's a way of talking to people. Definitely, I found this out. Don't forget, those people have a little drink. You just walk up and say, "We'd like to leave the premises, sir." And I've got some big boys working here, big boys, and I don't think they'll argue with them. Simple as that.
Every night the place is packed. Long before these kids were born, their parents packed it, and nothing shifted them.
Meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through.
Even when England, and indeed the world, was on the brink of catastrophe, the Palais patrons paraded the floor. The bands were playing while the Blitz was on. The house electrician was on duty on the 3rd of September, 1939.
Well, we had a mass dancing class here. There must have been 100 people in there. And they were doing it like drill formation, you know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And at 10 to 11, 5 to 11, I went back to my switch room and I put the tannoy on, a loudspeaker. I cut their music off. And when we had the big band, crash bang wallop, you know, and Neville Chamberlain came in, state of war exists.
While the bombs were dropping, the Palais soldiered on. They began their famous morale boosters, the service's spotlight radio programmes featuring many a star. Lord Haw-Haw swore he'd destroy the place, but he missed, and the dancing went on and on.
We couldn't close when the bombs were on. We had to keep open. Keep both the dance bands. When the bombing was heavy, we used to keep both the dance bands going to drown the noise.
I was elected to go onto the roof and decide, I had to make the decision whether it was safe for the people to carry on dancing or not. Well, when you realise that Jerry was flying over, and if he dropped the bomb at Barking, 12 miles away, that could hit the Palais, it was putting a lot on my shoulders to decide whether it was safe or that would stay there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I made an arrangement with the band leader. At the time was Oscar Raven. He disappeared, and then we had Harry Leader. And if I come down and flash the torch, they go potty. They'd start playing woodchopper's ball and anything with noise. The drummer used to work overtime, crashing and cymbal, you know, trying to kill any noise outside. And I used to have to decide whether it was safe. But, I mean, whether they expected me to catch a bomb in my tin hat and throw it over the side, I don't know. But never once did I say it wasn't safe, because I knew it was ridiculous to say it wasn't safe. What's good at being frightened? If my number was on it, I would have got it. That's how I used to look at it.
Who's the lucky girl that's going your way to kiss you goodnight at your doorway? Who's taking you home tonight?
My husband was a prisoner of war, so the only consolation I had was to come dancing, which I did, and I had several partners only for dancing, and it was lovely. And we went in for many competitions, and the last one was June the 6th, 1945, when I had a phone message here from my sister to say my husband had arrived back from Germany. So I said goodbye to my partner and away I went. And I just won a big competition.
We were frightened that the soldiers would ruin the dance floor, so we got a lot of dancing shoes and we used to lend them to the soldiers. Very often they forgot their shoes and they went home to their camps. Their commanding officers nearly went mad because they were in dancing shoes.
The Empire too, we can depend on you.
We were just on embarkation leave before we went home to Canada. And my friend and I came here together because we were going to catch the train to Edinburgh at 10:15 King's Cross, so we came here to put in the evening.
Yeah.
And I met her. I just went up and asked her for a dance, and then she invited me to come back early off leave and meet her family.
When he came back, I really liked him. And then afterwards, he had to go back to Canada. And a month after, he sent me a wedding ring, engagement ring. And then I cabled back to say that I was engaged.
But I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
And they still come. After all, the Palais is where their romance blossomed and lives on. Wednesday and Saturday are the nights for their kind of music. Big band sounds, strict tempo dancing, and the whole family can enjoy themselves.
I used to take Stuart when he was 9 months old, and first of all we used to do the waltzes, holding him together dancing, and he used to love the band, and the band used to laugh as we used to go round, especially the drums. He loved the drums.
I seem to have a vague recollection at the back of my mind of dancing around in someone's arms near a band, but that's all I can remember about the place, really. I'm afraid I haven't followed the tradition on.
When Celia used to go, I used to tell her that I knew she'd enjoy herself there because I always did. I think it's such a happy place.
You don't have to stand there like a kipper in a tin. So don't stand around just watching, they'll ask you. And that's why I like to dance. I don't care who asks me, I'll dance, just for the sake of dancing.
And on Tuesdays, the Palais is where it's at if you dream of miles of tulle and sequins and that championship cup that leads to fame and fortune. During the day, the Palais doesn't sleep. It's the haunt and training ground of past, present and future champions. Experts like Bill and Bobby Irvin still train under the watchful eye of instructors like Sonny Binnick, himself an ex-world champion.
This is a dancer's dance hall. It always has been. The great dancers of our times have all performed here. And I'm sure that having watched some of them in my early years as a demonstrator and teacher, having watched the great, great dancers, that I felt I would never be able to emulate. This has built up a sort of feeling of great respect for the Palais.
That's a good leg line. That's a good leg line, yes. That's it, through, pop. That's good.
Hammersmith is a special place, a very special place. Long before I came to England 14 years ago, long before that I'd heard of the great Hammersmith Palais.
She's petrified for a 2-week period before our shows here at the Palais. Bobby is almost impossible to live with. She really is. She's only thinking, oh my God, we've got the Palais in a week's time, we've got to go and practice. And instead of practicing 4 hours, we're practicing like 6 hours a day just for our little 10-minute spot at the Palais.
After the war, the Palais took on a newer and even more glittering lease of life. It made the big band sound its own. When Ted Heath played there, everybody went, and not only to listen to the band. The screaming fans mobbed Ted's singers, Dickie Valentine, Lita Rosa, and Dennis Lotus.
This is the place, now is the time. There's a time and a place for everything. The time is now.
The Palais saw the birth in Britain of the teenage idol, and the adulation they drew from their fans will never be forgotten.
It was astounding because I remember when I was sort of teenage idol, you know, and I used to sort of do anything. I'd go like that, and they'd scream their heads off, you know, and I felt a marvelous power, like I knew then exactly how Hitler must have felt, you know.
For you're my reason why, for everything, right from the start, my lonely heart said, please be mine.
I felt as though I could walk over them to the loo, you know, instead of saying, excuse me, I want to get past you. I could have walked over their heads. It's just a sea of heads. It was fantastic. And they got me off the stand.